as I said, I do want to still continue doing some book videos on this channel, and that means I'm still going to be continuing my monthly reading wrap-up. So, join me today as I tell you about all the things that I read in May. Hello everyone, it is Samantha and I hope you guys are having a great day so far. It is June, we are halfway through the year, which is insane, but that also means we are like halfway to Christmas and I can't wait, so that's awesome. But that also means that it is time for another new monthly wrap-up. So today I'm going to be telling you guys the things that I read in May and the statistics and all of that good stuff. So let us dive into this wrap-up. In terms of books, I ended up only reading 4 books in May. It was not my best month, but it also wasn't my worst, so that's good, I guess. I read a total of 1,772 pages, which averages to about 57 pages a day and about 430 pages per book. In terms of star ratings, I read 2 4-star books and 2 5-star books, so it was a pretty good reading month this month. In terms of genre, I read 1 middle grade book and 3 fantasy books. In terms of book types, 1 was an ARC and the rest were trade paperbacks, because that really is my favorite book format. In terms of years published, there really wasn't much diversity there. They were all published in 2015 and 2016, so they were all fairly recent books, but they were pretty dang good. So that ends my statistics for the month of May, so now let me just get into the books and what I thought of them, shall we? The first book that I finished in May was one of the books for the BookTube SFF Awards, which we've actually done our live show. We've announced all of the winners, and I will link that down below if you guys are curious to see that. We'll be back next year, so stay tuned. But the book that I read that was part of the BookTube SFF Awards was The 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin, and I had very, very mixed feelings about this book. The book itself follows several character perspectives, including an older woman, a young girl, and a young woman, so kind of like various stages of life, if you will. And it is set in a world in which people have this magic ability that allows them to harness the power of the earth, so like tectonic energy and things of that nature, in order to shift plates, move mountains, it's just like do anything. They can basically destroy the land with their power. And these people are controlled, and they are picked up at a young age, and they are sent to this school that is pretty oppressive in a way. I mean, they will teach you and you can learn, but they also like put you in breeding camps, so it's pretty messed up. And people out in the world, not in this school, they frown upon these people and they hate them and they find them to be dangerous. And this world itself is very dangerous because it goes through these cycles called seasons, and when you enter the 5th season, it's basically like the apocalypse. And this happens every couple hundred years or so. And it's basically the climate completely changes, it's inhospitable, it's hard to live in, and so you have to kind of prepare for that all the time. So it's a very interesting story. It kind of is a melding of both fantasy and science fiction. So that itself was pretty interesting. But I had extremely mixed feelings with this book. I hated the first half of this book. It was extremely hard to get into. A lot of it didn't make sense. Part of the narration for the older woman was told in second person, which was extremely jarring. I just had a really hard time immersing myself in the story. But as you get towards the end of the book, things start to really click, and there's some pretty big revelations. And it was these revelations and these big things that happened that kind of ended up selling the book for me. So I ended up giving it a total of 4 stars. So in terms of ratings for this book, I ended up giving the characters 3 stars. The world building, I gave 4 stars. The writing, I gave 3.5 stars. And the plot, I gave 4 stars, for an overall rating of about 4 stars. So it was really, really hard in the first part of the book, but it really, really sells in the last half. So I'm excited to see where she goes with the second book, because she kind of put the bar up here. So it'll be interesting to see if, you know, she can reach that level and go beyond it with the second book. We shall see. The next book that I finished in the month of May was an ARC from the publisher, and that was the Nethergrim, which is the first book in this series. I also have the second book, which came out in May as well, but I have yet to read. This is a middle grade book that follows our young character Edmund, and Edmund lives in this little village, and he has these dreams of becoming a magician, this like sorcerer basically, but his father really wants him to inherit the tavern. His father and his mother are kind of oppressive, and his father is a little bit verbally abusive, and he just kind of lives in a very conflicted environment. One day, children start going missing, and it seems that the Nethergrim, this ancient evil being that they believed had been vanquished like years before, seems to be coming back because it used to take children. So, and among the missing is Edmund's brother. So Edmund ends up setting out with 2 of his friends to kind of discover the truth behind whether or not this being was killed, and to retrieve not only his brother but also the other children and kind of come into his own. So I really ended up enjoying this book. I really wasn't sure what to expect because it's kind of marketed towards Lord of the Rings fans, and I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, so I wasn't really sure what to expect, but I ended up ultimately really enjoying the story. It was really, really fun. Edmund could be a little bit annoying at times, a little bit angsty, but he's also supposed to be about 14, so I would expect that for the age. And I really like the supporting characters, such as Catherine and Tom. So those characters are really great, and overall I thought it was a pretty enjoyable read, and I'm excited to see what I think of book 2, which is the Skelleth. So overall, my reading breakdown for this book is as follows. I gave the characters 4 stars, gave the world building 3.5 stars, the writing I gave 4 stars, and the plot I gave 4 stars for an overall rating of 4 stars. The last 2 books that I read in May ended up becoming 2 of my favorite books of this year, and I cannot wait for book 3, which comes out on Tuesday, and I am going to get it because I need more. And that, of course, is the Greatcoats series by Sebastian de Castell. I am in love with this series so far. So far, only the first 2 books are out. The third one, I believe, is already out in the UK, and it comes out in the US on Tuesday, and I'm going to get it right away, seriously. But this story is kind of like the Three Musketeers meets the Lives of Locke Lamora. It is phenomenal. It follows our Greatcoats, who were basically these protectors and the law bringers of the king. They were there to protect the kingdom and to make sure justice was served to everybody, nobles and peasants alike. And one day, the king is killed by all of the dukes, and the Greatcoats are forced to surrender. But before the king is killed, because he knows this is coming, he imparts instructions to each of his 144 Greatcoats. So they all have individual instructions. They don't all know what the other one's instructions are, and they have to go forth and fulfill their promise to the king. And it primarily follows our 3 main characters, Falcio, Brasti, and Kest, who are kind of the Three Musketeers-esque kind of characters, as they kind of set out to fulfill their promise to the king, and they don't actually know what each one promised to the king, but they're trying their best. They're sticking together, kind of trying to bring back the good name of the Greatcoats, because at this point, everybody hates them, and they're kind of frowned upon. They're treated like dirt because nobody likes them or trusts them, and they're kind of trying to protect the kingdom and unite it because it's falling apart. And all I have to say is I love this series. It is a phenomenal fantasy series. The writing was excellent. The characters were amazing. It was full of humor. It was also full of a lot of kind of sad moments, but it was done so well. There were some shocking revelations that I was like, whoa, didn't see that coming. So I am in love with this series. This is definitely one of my new favorite fantasy series. Sebastian de Castell is an excellent author, and I cannot wait to see what he brings in book 3, because I heard from some people who have already read it that's actually the best of the ones that are out so far. So I highly, highly recommend this series, particularly if you like the Three Musketeers or Lives of Locke Lamora. It's a pretty simple fantasy to get into, so it's definitely something you can enjoy if you're not the biggest fantasy reader, and I just highly recommend it. It was a lot of fun. So my rating breakdown for these books is as follows, and it was the same for both of these. I gave the characters 5 stars, I gave the writing 5 stars, I gave the world building 5 stars, and I gave the plot 5 stars for an overall rating of 5 stars. Like, I really, really like these books, guys. I read fantasy so much, so I am pretty picky about what I like, and I really, really like these. So so good. They're just so good. Alright guys, that is it for my May reading wrap-up. I hope you enjoyed it. You'll have to let me know if you've read any of these and what your thoughts were, and what your favorite book for May was. Alright guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys will all have a fantastic June. Bye! I gave the plot pot. Bleh. You can have a great June. I almost said May. It's not May anymore. Got some slip covers here. Some very slick covers. Oh my god. Woo! I got this done. I've also had a lot of coffee, so woo!